When a woman is pregnant, another woman can wash her hands in some chemical, lie her down, and move her hands on top of and the baby, without being touched, will turn in the womb, infest the canal. Now that's science.
Yes.
That's science. It is best.
Yes.
That when chickens are fighting in the yard, and my grandfather says, "Yeah, get ready. Some visitors are coming." And for sure, before you finish it, one of those chickens were eating it tonight. And you're able to read when you see clouds of this nature and say, yeah, this year we're going to have locusts. Oh, man, bad, guys. This year, it's going to be dry. And they are able to interpret all these things by this way and the direction the wind is blowing and be able to tell that this animal is sick without putting a thermometer in it. By simply looking at the dung of a cow, they can tell whether this animal has eaten poison or stuff like that. Now, to me, that's knowledge that breathes with us.
Civilization and knowledge or scientific knowledge does not have to be Eurocentric before it's considered as science. And unfortunately, this is what some of us believe today. When you're Igbo, you're African, but you don't believe that your ancestors were technocrats. You don't believe that your ancestors engaged in some scientific adventures because you believe that it is not European. Because most of us believe that civilization was brought on by these white people, by the Europeans, not knowing that what we are doing is westernization and Europeanization in the name of civilization, because our ancestors had their own form of civilization, and it doesn't have to be attached to a Eurocentric mindset before we believe that these ancestors were evolved, that these ancestors were civilized. Now, in terms of being scientific, we need to also see, like what he said, what are the chances that a primitive people were able to turn a baby in utero and this baby and child is going to survive? What are the chances? Now, we talk about Afa in Igbo spirituality. Some of us may not be aware, but Afa is a system of cosmological knowledge, in the sense that the Dibia who is flipping the Afa strings is not just communicating with all the spirits or entities around him, but he's also communicating with cosmological knowledge that are being manifested through the Afa strings. Now, these strings actually comes in binaries. When he or she flips those Afa strings, is giving him two connotations of ones and zeros and ones and zeros. Each of those strings actually have their own separate names, and these are the things that this Dibia actually interprets to his clients. One other beautiful thing about this Afa is that when this Dibia hands you his or her Mpiatu or Ofafa, what that connection is doing at that point is giving some kind of a psychic connection that allows this individual to have a prior knowledge. It's just like somebody tapping into some sort of a database. This is what is actually happening when a Dibia Afa is communicating with another person. When you go there, it starts with giving you an offer to basically conduct that psychic connections. And once that psychic connection is due, the person stands with stringing those Afa seeds. Now, another thing here that our ancestors did that I call the pinnacle or the climax of our African or Igbo science is Ikwekili, the process of teleportation. Now, the Dibias or the wise ones, in fact, who are actually know this knowledge or who knows the secrets behind Ikwekili, most of them died without passing on this knowledge. Because of what Christianity did, because of what westernization did, they clipped our indigenous scientific exploration. They clipped our indigenous sciences in order to basically project their own form of scientific adventures. In that way, looking at our own as being primitive, because what we basically function or what we use in some of these scientific applications are inorganic energy, perishable energies, because you basically look at the energies that we work with, they do not last for long, they are perishable, and it works for us. So when we always link our indigenous system and try to downcast it down to downrate it because of what somebody out there said, and when we keep looking up to another system, another people's system, individuals practices as being superior to our own, we forget that our ancestors lived in such a way that they only took what they can from nature and they did not abuse nature. They preserved nature. They lived in harmony with nature. And the things that they achieved in those days can, in all ramification, can be declared as science. If we actually also look at Ogbu, for instance, the process of configuring Ogbu is actually a scientific process, because over time that same process can be repeated by another source and will still attain or achieve the same result. Then if you look at the process of saying that a method, a theory, is a scientific theory or is a scientific method, they has to pass through the process of repetition, and this is something that our ancestors have done over and over and over again. Now if you think your ancestors were not scientific, then this page is not for you. But if you think your ancestors were worth something, they instituted some concepts and they were very scientific and they were civilized in their own time, then this page is the page for you. So follow this page for more.